let's get right into it. You know, today we are joined by Dr. Merlyn X. Pulikkathara, an assistant professor of physics at Prairie View A&M University, and also a proud PVAMU alumna who went on to earn a PhD in applied physics from Rice University, and now is leading such impactful research here at Prairie View, and is also a professor. And I'm so honored to have you here, Dr. Pullikathara. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, it's my honor to be here, to speak to my university. I'm very grateful.
And you don't mind, you said I can call you Merlyn?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Merlyn, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and who is Dr. Pulikkathara?
So I tell my students on the first day, I teach physics, and I tell my students on the first day, I never met a student that was worse than me. I've been kicked out of many universities. I have failed so many times. And I tell my students I struggled in high school, I struggled in university, but coming to Prairie View, when I was slipping through the cracks so many times, it was my professors, specifically some professors who poured into me, didn't let me fall through the cracks, took a chance and encouraged me. And next thing you know, I'm getting a degree in chemical engineering and double majored in secret with physics, and then my master's in engineering from Prairie View, all from PV. And the research that I was involved in as an undergrad led to opportunities at Rice University, where I then eventually got my PhD in applied physics. And then I was the first student at PV to work with nanomaterials. Mm-hmm. And now I'm so proud to see that it's everywhere. But at the time, I was the first one entrusted by PV faculty. If it wasn't for PV faculty and staff, I wouldn't be here. I can't count the number of times PV faculty and staff had fed me those precious ramen noodles. I was here working 2 jobs, lived in Hempstead, got robbed a few times, just was broke.
Robbed a few times?
Yeah. And
somebody pulled a gun or something?
No, they broke into the apartment and just stole, whatever they could find, which wasn't much at the time.
Yeah.
But the point is, I've gone through a lot, but because of the blessings of the wonderful people in my life, it didn't matter what I went through because they encouraged me. And as I had mentioned, I was and I am blessed and it was Prairie View faculty and staff that enabled me to dream dreams I never imagined.
Yeah. And you've done things that a lot of people dream of as well, working in science. And how did you connect with science? Or did you find science or did science find you?
Science found me. I was always drawn to physics, but I never had the confidence to really go for it when I was younger. It didn't make sense to me because I was terrible in chemistry, physics in high school. I struggled with math all the way through. And I was always drawn to physics. And so after many years of failures and this and that, I ended up secretly majoring in physics when I came to Prairie View.
What is it about physics?
Physics is the why, the how. To me, it was about truly trying to understand how things work, how things are, why they are the way they are. And I was very much drawn to this. And I couldn't explain. And the only reason I was able to major in physics is because I was kind of forced into it. I was interested in optics and I wanted to sit in a professor's class. So I bought the book when I was an undergrad and I just wanted to sit, in the background and just listen. And there was only 5 of us. And so I kind of stood out. And so he was like, "Who are you?" And I said, "I'm a chemical engineering major." And he says, "No, you have to be a physics major to be in this class." Okay. So I kind of was forced into it because I was very afraid. The word physics filled me with fear.
Why?
Oh, because I was terrible at it and terrible at math, and I never imagined I would be able to do it. So the fear, well, not the fear of failure, the failure made me feel I didn't have what it took until Prairie View faculty took a chance and kept going over things with me over and over again and telling me not to give up and strengthened my mathematics, strengthened my physics, and I found myself doing things I wasn't able to do before. And then I kept taking one class after the other. A professor in chemical engineering really was the main one who boosted my confidence. Professor Osborne Lee. He was my department head at the time when I was a student. And he spoke to me as if I had something to offer, which was very different from how academic failures get treated in my community. So coming from India, success is the only state of existence that is allowed.
So it's a lot of pressure.
It's a lot of pressure. And I did not meet those expectations for many years. But Professor Osborne Lee took a chance and would always encourage me. He poured into me. And because of that, I had the confidence to go try and be part of research with Dr. Richard Wilkins. He passed away a couple of years ago. And for the next 20, 25 years, Dr. Richard Wilkins gave me opportunity after opportunity and the support. And so now here I am back as a physics professor, the first one in physics as a female professor. And it's my joy and my duty, my responsibility to make sure my students are strong. After spending 5 years in the oil field after my PhD, it was difficult. So I'm here to make sure my engineering students are strong and that they get encouraged as I was. I want to make sure that my efforts go towards making my colleagues and my students strong.
Speaking with Dr. Merlyn Pulikkathara here on 91.3 KPVU. And I'm honored to have you right here to hear about these stories because there's a lot of students that are in science and in STEM and they get motivation, the same motivation that you were given, you're able to pass that motivation on.
Oh, I really believe in this. And what I've also learned from the example of my former professors and now my colleagues is share your blessings. When I first came here as a lecturer, I had nothing. And kind professors like Professor Osborne Lee, Professor Storr from physics, Professor Wilkins from electrical engineering, they all opened up their labs and were very kind to let me, who had nothing, to at least see what is there and participate in research. Yeah. And so now, as a tenure track professor, whatever I can do to create opportunities for students or to help support the efforts of other faculty, that is my joy.
What about young women that are in STEM? This is Women's History Month, and what would you say to young women that are maybe interested in STEM, but maybe they feel like they're not, have enough information, or maybe they don't feel like they're good enough?
Well, as the worst student I ever met, I always share my failures with my students to encourage them. I've never met a student that failed as many times as me. I never met a student who got kicked out of as many universities and programs and this and that like me. And I happen to think that each of us is a precious, precious diamond that has so much to offer. We can all learn whatever we want, and we're all made differently to learn different things to fulfill our destiny. I would strongly encourage young women, and what I often tell my young women in classes is we have to be better because of the way our world is, with the racism that exists, with the sexism that exists, and the unfair distribution of opportunities. Wherever we are, we must be the best. Wherever we are, we must work the hardest, because only by being the best do we have a chance. And we must be our best, not just for our sake. As we are alive, we carry the blood of our ancestors. We carry the blood of our elders. And it is their sacrifices and their limited opportunities that have led to the great many opportunities that we have. We cannot and should not ever take this for granted. Whenever we do something, it is not on our own basis. It is because we represent our elders.
You mentioned that you were one of the worst students that you've experienced. How did you take that and turn it around into, I guess, almost a positive almost? It's like you knowing that almost made it, it's like it, you know that. So it's not like somebody else is saying it, you're saying it. How did you make that a positive, and how did you turn that around for yourself?
It was because of Professor Osborne Lee. When I was falling through the cracks, all I knew was keep going, keep going. That is all I knew from my parents. Mm-hmm. You failed, keep going, keep going. Mm-hmm. But my confidence was so low. Professor Osborne Lee took time to talk to me, and he looked at my transcript and noticed that my grades in engineering were not bad. And because of him, I got my very first scholarship, and I was able to buy a book. And to have somebody have faith in you, that made me feel like I had something to give. If it wasn't for PV faculty and staff, I wouldn't have had the confidence to think I had anything to offer. I was just this far away from learning how to cut hair, going to VCU, because I was just failing everything.
So you're talking about like a barber? Like
something I have
cosmetologist
or something I had.
Do you still have that skill?
I have no skill. I'm terrible at all of that. But I figured I need to get a degree or some kind of life skill in something.
Yeah.
But it was because of the professor. When I was an undergraduate student struggling with my failures, he pointed out that I'm failing because I was doing something I wasn't meant to do. Mm-hmm. And because of him, I had the courage to go and get more tutoring and become stronger because I love what I do now.
So you have work that has literally reached beyond Earth. I mean, we're talking about space, and you've done work with. I saw harsh environments. Is space considered a harsh environment?
Yes.
And why is space such a harsh environment?
Well, first of all, it's cold.
Okay.
It's very cold, and to get into space, we have to bring our own oxygen. We have to bring our own heat for us to survive. We have to be surrounded by different materials, and there's so much opportunity to grow and develop in science and engineering in space. And everything I was able to accomplish, that is all pure team effort and the accumulation of a few decades that were built on the opportunities at Prairie View. Mm-hmm. I started doing radiation research under Professor Wilkins in electrical engineering. That led to my 2 NASA fellowships that was able to pay for school. Yeah. And It led to my first publications, my first patents. Everything was built on the fact that a professor gave me a chance despite my low GPA.
What does that mean to you when you see some major accomplishments with space and knowing that you had a hand in some of that?
As a former atheist, most of my life I was an atheist. I can tell you God is real. God is real because it took a God-sized miracle to turn my life around. I didn't do it on my strength. I couldn't. I didn't.
When did you realize that?
Oh, in my late 30s, 40s, I was realizing that there's a pattern that I don't understand. There was so many signs, and I wasn't able to explain things, no matter how much I loved physics. And I realized, okay, I give up. I'm not going to fight this anymore. I understood that all the glory of transformation, it's because of God. And so when I have something, who would have ever imagined, as someone who failed as many times as me, would have touched and helped to make something that's on the space station? Who would believe that? It takes a God-sized miracle. And that was the transformation. That's what made me believe. And I see everything through eyes of gratitude and how do you say, it's my chance to encourage others by sharing my failures and saying, look what I'm doing now. So what more can you do to my students and to share? The one thing I learned so much from my PV family is whatever you have, share. Because everybody has something. Even if it's a beaker, share it. Even if it's a little bit of material, share it. If it's a small piece of equipment, share it. And the more you give, the more you share, the more you pour into others, then you get poured into.
How do you convince someone who feels like they don't have anything to share?
I show them my empty hands, and I put one hand on their back. And I said, with an empty hand, you can encourage somebody. With two empty hands, you can applaud somebody. With two empty hands, you can pray. Nobody has nothing.
Dr. Pullikathara, I did not know that we were going to go there, but this is the conversation that is really touching me, and I'm so glad that you're here. I don't know much about STEM, and what is STEM?
So it stands for science, technology, engineering, mathematics. But what it really is just a way of understanding how things work. That's, if you're curious. And there's so many useful fields out there. And so I tell when I teach my non-STEM students, y'all are going to be the boss of the STEM majors. Because if we think about our presidents, were any of them a scientist or an engineer? If we look at CEOs, there's some that are engineers, but mainly no. We all have a place. If some of us are drawn towards history or to art, well, how is that less important than STEM fields? It takes all of us. It takes all of us.
Absolutely. You actually brought something with you today. It almost looks like a web, almost. It's like almost like pill shaped, almost.
Yes, it's a molecular structure that's supposed to represent a single wall carbon nanotube.
Okay.
And this is the structure I worked with when I was an undergrad. It's 100 times stronger than steel and a fraction of its density, which makes it lightweight. It's made of all carbon, and it's perfect for space applications.
when I look at it, I see, I guess, would that be a hexagon? I see like many hexagons that are
Hexagons and
pentagons that are like hooked together almost. And
Yes.
does that have something to do with being stronger as a unit?
Yes, because it's considered a one-dimensional material, but graphene, it's just like a piece of paper. It's all hexagons. And this has two axes, so it's folded over. So all the strength of the covalent bonds between the carbon atoms becomes even stronger when it's in this configuration. So carbon, we know as, for example, diamond. Girl's best friend is diamond, is one of the hardest materials in the world. And then we have graphite, also made of just carbon, which is meant for lubrication. So not hard, but very, very easy to glide. We use it in brake pads and pencil coming out as little films of graphene. Nanotubes, which was discovered by Professor Ejima, and was based very similarly to the structure of fullerene, which is basically 60 atoms of carbon that look like a soccer ball, and it's only 1 nanometer across. So that's just a representation of something that's several microns long, but only 1 nanometer in the diameter.
This is very interesting because I'm kind of currently reading a book. It's called The Celestine Prophecy. And it talks about energy and how we're all energy, and how even though you see me, but I'm energy.
Yes.
And everything is energy.
Yes.
Do you touch on that in a way, how everything is energy?
Yes. It's why we have so many ways of connecting with each other. When you walk into a room, you can feel what people are feeling, right?
Yes.
When people are excited of being there, you can feel that excitement. But according to the scientific method, how do we measure that? Because we have far more than we can currently measure. And for me personally, not just as a scientist, but as a human being, we can sense each other. And that is not limited by our skin, our bodies, our structure. We are energy. And there's a way when women all get together in a room, women sync up in different ways. People can understand and project strength when they are together, and others can feel it. So these are things that don't make sense when we consider the scientific method, because I strongly believe there is more out there than we can currently measure.
And it's funny you say that, because that's what the book talks about a little bit. It talks about how there's an unlimited source of energy, but we constantly are trying to take energy from each other, and we don't have to do that because there's energy out there. And if you can tap into that energy out there, you don't have to try to take from someone else.
Oh, yeah. Have you ever met anybody where when you walk away from that person, you feel tired and drained?
Yeah.
That's because somebody just took your energy. And other people, like when you go to church, you feel all pumped up afterwards. You feel all inspired and full.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that comes to then a personal choice, how we view the world, how we view our days, how we view each other strongly influences whether we're a drainer or a supplier.
Do you ever get tired?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I know when my students come to me sad, frustrated, I want to, how do you say, when we put spackle on a wall, we fill in the dents.
Yes.
I know I can do something to help them feel better, to encourage them. And so part of that energy flows to where it needs to go. So energy always flows, just like temperature, just like a thermal energy. It flows from where it's a lot to where it's not.
Ooh, doctor, what is one of your proudest accomplishments here at Prairie View?
When I see a student not giving up and working on a problem in front of me. And then he or she is like, understands that they did it, And when there's a certain look that they get, and that's when I knew.
It's like a click.
Yeah.
Light bulb.
Yeah. And when you see somebody getting a light bulb, you feel proud that you helped them become stronger. Now they can count on themselves, because there's so many of us that just need a word of encouragement. There's so many of us that just needs somebody to believe in them,
Yes.
And it costs nothing to encourage somebody. It costs nothing. That's why we're here at PV, because our students are special. And because I was a student at Prairie View and some other professors made me feel special, well, now look what I was able to do because somebody took a chance and poured into me.
How does PV create the next generation of scientists?
So we need to find a way to invest more resources in our labs, in demonstrations. So one thing that I do for the past 6-7 years now is I have a day of science. So I go to the local community and we organize through my dear friend Tarasha Adair, who's also PV alumni. And she has an organization, a mall, a message of love. And so for the past 6-7 years now, we've been organizing a group of little girls in the local community and doing a day of science where we find money from somewhere. And always Dean of Engineering has helped us, Dino Biaman. And we have all of these hands-on demonstrations to encourage the young ones. So the more we can do with the hands-on demonstrations with the children, blowing bubbles. One time in one semester, I bought a bunch of those bubble wands from Walmart. I gave it to my students and I said, let's study optics using bubbles. And it captured some of their imagination. They're like, oh, I never thought about that. I never thought about that. If you can capture their interest in the life around them, then they might be more interested in science. At least their option is there. Yeah. I make a dance about teaching the little girls how to multiply 75 times 75. I make it into a dance. And next thing you know, these little girls are like, I ask, how much is 75 times 75? They're like 5,625. If you can teach so many fundamental principles when they're young in a way that's open and inviting, then they're not afraid.
When Dr. Pullikathara was a little girl, was there something that you did back then that connects with science, that you look back and you say, oh, I was doing that back when I was young?
I had a tendency to take things apart.
Okay. What did you take apart?
Anything, and got beaten for it too.
Oh.
And but I learned English when I came to the country when I was 5. I learned my English from TV shows like Doctor Who, which is science fiction.
Who, yeah.
Remember Doctor Who, Tom Baker?
I remember that
crazy
show.
scarf?
It was on public access
Channel
television.
8. Yeah, and Star Trek. I'm a huge Trekkie. I am a die-hard Trekkie. I'm one of those that got dressed up, went to conferences, and met William Shatner a few times.
Okay.
So I love Star Trek. And I met Uhura. And, Uhura was the first woman I saw dark like me, and was like part of the command structure. And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know.
She's in there with all those men and she's running things.
Yeah. So I was so inspired when I was little from life around me. And I would just take things apart and get in trouble, of course. But I always wanted to understand how things worked. And I would, of course, get in trouble, but it didn't stop my curiosity. I just had to figure out how to do it in private.
What's next for you? What's in the future for you?
I want to be part of creating a space community at Prairie View, where Prairie View is the hub of space for all HBCUs. The president has said this as a goal, and when I heard this, I want to be a part of it. I want to create more opportunities. Right now we have a sample in space, and right now we're building our second sample to be launched next year to go to the space station. We put in a proposal for the third sample to go to the space station. And in my future goals, I want Prairie View students and my Prairie View presence on the moon as well as the surface of Mars. These are far-reaching goals, but now my dreams have expanded. And again, it is because of the opportunities here. I want the presence of Prairie View to be everywhere. I want people to understand who we are and how we can transform our world and our lives by just daring to dream things that are hard, daring to dream and knowing that we have what it takes to make it come true. That's what's ahead of us.
Yeah. I really want to say thank you so much for joining us and sitting here with us and showing us really that any and everything is possible.
Yes. Take it from me, who had fallen down many times and am now in space. So I want people to know, yes, you're going to fall down, but don't stay down. Get up.
If somebody is interested in maybe contacting your office or finding more information about you, where can they locate you?
I'm the only woman in physics, so I'm over there in E.E. O'Banion. My office number is 330H, third floor, physics department. I'm there. My email, mepullikathara@pvamu.com. I'm there. If I can help faculty, students with something, I always tell my colleagues, if I have it, you have it. It's very simple things. Share what you have. Your hands are never empty. There's always something you can do with an empty hand. An empty hand can receive. An empty hand can encourage, can applaud, and can pray. There's so much we can do for each other because there's no limit. All of us can rise. All of us can rise equally to go upward. It's not a competition. It's let's do this together. If I have something that's going to help you to do what you need to do, then my invitation to all my colleagues at Prairie View is you come to me. I have different things now. I'm blessed. Let me share my blessings with you. Let us all share what we have so we can all learn more and do better science together and write proposals and create opportunities for students. Because if we're not here to enable and grow the dreams of our students, then why are we here? We're here to make each other strong. We come not strong, but we shouldn't leave not strong. We should leave strong. And we have what it takes to help each other, to all of us to rise. We have this. So if somebody needs something that I have access to, you come. If I have it, you have it.
And that's a perfect way to end the interview. Thank you so much, Dr. Pullikathara. Thank you for taking time to come see us, and hopefully we can talk more soon.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for this chance.